Hey everyone, Board Game Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a new copy of Hashi. It's a flip and write puzzle game by NSV. Now let's get right into it. Each player will have a player board on the same side as other players and a marker. There are 18 cards used in the game, and players will each be writing one of the numbers, numbered 1 through 6, on each of their 18 islands on their board. Only one number can be used for each island. Bridges are then connected between islands along the dotted lines, but only 1 or 2 bridges can be placed between each island. As soon as there are exactly the same number of bridges that leave an island as the number on that island, then the island is finished and is then circled. No more bridges can then leave this island from now on, and the points are only awarded to islands when they are finished. Anyways, to start, each player will write a number 3 or 4 on any island without a flag. Then boards are then passed clockwise, and now everyone has a new board that they will use for the remaining of the game, and everyone will most likely have different starting positions. The 18 cards are then shuffled together, and one is randomly discarded into the box without looking at it. The remaining 17 cards are then placed in the middle of the table, face down, forming a draw pile. There are 17 rounds in the game, and each round the top card of this draw pile is flipped over. All players will then play at the same time, carrying out the following 2 actions per card. At any time, a player can decide to pass on one or both actions in a round, and they should announce this out loud for all players to hear if they decide to do so. So the first action is to write the number indicated on the card into a still free island of your choice. The island can be chosen freely, following some restrictions. First, you can always enter the number into a still free island without a flag, regardless of whether bridges already lead to that island or not. Second, the player can only enter the number into a still free island with a flag on it if at least one bridge already leads to this island. That makes these islands with the flags a little bit harder to place numbers on. The second action is then to draw as many bridges on your board as shown on the card. Every bridge must always start with an island that already has a number, and the bridge is drawn along the dotted line to a neighboring island. If the player has to draw multiple bridges, they can choose to split them up to 1 or more islands with a number. And you can never draw fewer bridges than indicated. Either draw them all or leave out this action completely. Once all players have completed this bridge action, the next card from the draw pile can then be drawn and placed face up on top of the previous card. If you would like, you can cross out the card that had been drawn at the bottom of your player board on the info bar, and then you will know which cards are still to come out. The game continues this way until all 17 cards in the draw pile are revealed and played accordingly, and then scores are added up. While you're playing the game, you need to remember that bridges can never cross. If a player builds a bridge between 2 islands, they may build a second one in the same round or in a later round by drawing a line parallel to the other. You cannot draw a line between islands if there is not a number on either of the 2 islands. And your finished islands don't necessarily have to be connected to other finished islands, so really a linked network of all islands does not need to be created. At any time, if there is a certain number of bridges leading to an island without a number, a smaller number than the number of bridges it has may not ever be entered into this island, and there can never be more than 6 bridges that lead to an island, as the highest number on a card is 6. If someone ever makes a mistake, if they notice it in time within the next round, they can then fix it with no consequences. If this happens when multiple rounds have passed, then no points can be scored using that island, and it should be crossed out. So make sure that you check carefully after the end of each round, making sure no mistakes have been made anywhere on your board. Okay, so now how do you score points? So there are 4 islands with red flags, and the first player to have these islands circled first will score 9 points. And if any other player manages to do this in subsequent rounds from the first player, they will score 5 points. Similar, the islands with the blue flags will score 7 points for the first player, who circles all 3 of those islands, and anyone who circles them later will score 3 points. In addition, the first player that connects 6 finished islands by bridges so that there is not an unfinished island between them, so there is a network of 6 islands, they will score 8 points, and any or all players who manage to do this later will score 4 points. Lastly, at the end of the game, each player scores 2 points for each finished island. It doesn't matter the number on the island or the number of bridges, just the fact that both of those match. And if so, you will score 2 points for each finished island or for each island that is circled at the end of the game. Whoever has the most points from the combination of these 4 boxes wins the game. So let me begin by saying that my 6-year-old was not old enough to figure out this game. She knew to write a number down and then place bridges, but she kept either placing too many bridges to islands that couldn't take that many, or she would get confused on how many bridges she was placing on that turn. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is the game is a little more complex than what it appears to be. I was even surprised with the strategy, as I ended up not planning well enough in my first game that I wasn't able to match up the remaining islands with any of the possible bridges. So it's a pretty good, thinky game for what it is. I appreciate the list of each card at the bottom of each player board. This can help with planning, but also it's not going to tell the whole story, as one of those cards was taken out at the beginning of the game. Remember? This is kind of like a game that is easy to start, but as you place more on your board, you're either blocking your own self, hoping that you get a certain number or a certain number of roads, and as you play, things get tighter and harder to plan. The game isn't going to change much from play to play. You will be doing the same thing each time. The cards will come out differently, but your mindset is the same every time you play this game. But after saying all of that, I really enjoy this game, and I feel like it packs a good punch within it. It's a simple to teach game, it's simple to learn, and it requires some brain power, and it does that because you need to go through the puzzle while playing the game to figure out what might be the best placement for, again, the number and for the bridges. So connect all the islands with bridges with your family and friends in Hashi by NSV. Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.